the author of not the author of the book.
Got it.
Okay, we are the captain of our ship. Okay, and so when we in control, we can do what we want to do. Okay, we have no restrictions. Hello, Ginger. Welcome. Good to see you. Did I miss someone? Potentially.
Well, it hasn't showed us who it is yet. Unless that's me. I don't know.
No. Ginger is here with us
right
now.
But it shows you in the live chat who joined, and it says we have 2 watching, but I just have seen Ginger so far. So I don't know if I'm considered the other one since I joined. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, because sometimes you'll see the same name 2 or 3 times. So what does that mean? Does it mean that a person is watching from their phone and from maybe their browser or what? I'm just curious
that's
about
possible.
that.
That's possible.
Okay, because
Yep.
I see 2 Gingers here. Okay.
Yep.
But one has a black. Okay, the circle black on the
Oh,
inside.
you know what? I
other...
wonder now too. So I'm seeing that's my daughter actually that just joined, Maggie, and she's on Substack. I'm so proud of her and the little grandkids. But I'm wondering if it's doubling it because we're both on with our accounts, and so it's like I don't know. That's the first time I've seen that. So that's fascinating. So
See that number of times.
So you're helping me too. This week, because now it's like I'm also seeing how it's like to go live as joining in the Substack as my Substack account, as opposed to using a third party tool. Because I've always been a little curious. Because I've done it with the phone,
okay,
but I've never done it now that we can do it on desktop, right? Like before, I think you were probably having to use your phone, right?
I was using my phone, and you were only able to use it if you had iPhone, and you had to have a minimum of 100 subscribers in order to go live. So now I'm seeing 2 Maggie Oppenheimers, okay, and
Yep.
I saw 2 Gingers.
Right.
So I don't know. So I just brought that up because I've always been curious, because we have people that's watching through Substack. Okay, we have people that's watching from the browser.
Right.
Okay, we have people. Once this is sent, it'll go down. It'll be downloaded to Apple, Spotify, and so on and so forth. So those people won't get a chance to see this segment until it is actually published.
Yeah. No, this is neat. This is like I said, when you said you wanted to do it this way, I was like, yeah, why not? This will be fun. This will be a good experiment to see how this all works.
Yes, I like to see how the back end works. Being a systems thinker, I like to see. So actually, it says 10, but we actually have, I don't know, 6. Okay, so I don't know. That's a question.
I count 8, but I see, like you said, Maggie and Ginger twice.
Right.
So that would make 10.
2.
That would make 10 right now.
Okay.
So it's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know. So maybe somebody can ask Substack headquarters how that works.
Oh, okay. I thought you was the, marketing expert. So I was like, I'm giving you all the stuff so you can do the investigation.
No, I think, no, this is a good point though. Yeah, so I count 10 joined and we have 10 eyeballs, but it's counting Ginger and Maggie twice. So I'm wondering if Ginger and Maggie are both subscribed to us, and if the others maybe aren't subscribed to you yet or me yet, like if they subscribed, because I know when I've watched people that are live, sometimes it'll like say, like I need to subscribe to maybe one of the people watching that's on the show, because like say you're hosting it, Margaret.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if they're following both of us or subscribed to both of us, right? Because follow and subscribe is different. If that's why we're seeing them twice.
I'm just really curious, because a couple of days ago I went live, and and the people just like ran in, like when you open the gate and you see the cows coming. I'm not calling people cows, okay? I'm just using it. I'm just using it as an analogy.
It's a good analogy.
When you open the gate and they all rushing in,
Right.
and I'm like, oh wow, I never seen that before.
Right.
Last couple of days, because I usually speak to people as they come in. So
Yep. Yep.
Substack is constantly changing, so who knows? But I like to know things, okay?
Yes.
I question everything, okay? Question everything, especially what's going on in today's world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, hello everyone that joined us. Rob, Peaceful Healer. Maggie again, thank you. Mesmerize the Unseen. I know that's right. Sage, okay? And okay, all right. So, yes, Art B3 Ing, okay? And Michael and whoever else I missed. Okay, well, Margaret Williams here, the Empowered Leader Publisher, okay? And I help marginalized leaders um, increase their visibility, their impact, okay, and influence. So today I'm very happy to have Jim here with me. Jim, please pronounce your last name. I don't want to butcher
It's
your
it's
name.
fused like a fuse box.
Okay, I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Now, yes, Jim Fuhs he operates at an intersection of discipline and digital strategy. Jim positions himself across several connected roles: digital marketing strategist, okay, content creator, and Marine Corps veteran, okay, and advocate. And Jim specializes in what he calls marketing the Marine Corps way, okay? And the emphasis is on structure, clarity, and mission thinking, mission first thinking. And as a digital marketing consultant, he helps brands grow through disciplined execution rather than scattered tactics. Um, I am so honored, Jim, to have you here with me today. Uh, a Marine veteran, okay, and an Army Corps of Engineers veteran, okay, with 39 years of service. I'm so honored to have you here because I'm always about uplifting veterans, okay, and uplifting marginalized leaders, and starting within my own community. And I'm so honored to have you here today to talk about sharing your leadership story with us today.
Yeah, well, first of all, Margaret, thank you so much for having me, and, just for a little bit of humor, so Maggie is actually named Margaret, but we call her Maggie, so you got another Margaret in the audience, so when she has to use her official name, it's Margaret, so it doesn't completely disappear,
You're in
um,
good company.
but yeah, I mean, it's, for me, it's kind of an interesting journey in some ways, I guess maybe sometimes I don't think about it, but, my mom is from Lima, Peru, and she came to the U.S. In the '60s. Met my dad, who was in the Navy at the time, and she worked. She came on a visa and was working for an international bank as a secretary, and she ended up retiring from that many years later. So I was the oldest. I was the first one in my family to go to college after entering the Marines first enlisted. I went to Paris Island in, I guess I'll say the year 1984, which, right, George Orwell's book, that's a whole other thing we're dealing with these days. And then I became an officer, went through ROTC, got a scholarship, and became a Marine Corps officer in 1989. Retired 20 years, 21-ish years later. And, I had a lot of opportunities in leadership, but, and sometimes people will say that leaders are born and, not made. And I think that we all are capable of being leaders if we're willing to learn. I don't, I mean, sure, some people, just like when we grow up, Margaret, you've probably seen it. We had the kid that when we were younger that was like always picked first, right? But you gotta remember, Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team, right? Because he wasn't good enough. But what he did is he worked harder and he got better. And I think that's unfortunately sometimes from a leadership role as a parent where we maybe fail in that we don't sit there and say, okay, if my child isn't doing well, what can I do to help them gain that confidence to become better? And I think for me as a Marine, as a leader, as I was, moving from the ranks, from, private all the way to eventually lieutenant colonel, part of learning leadership was it's not about you, it's about helping your people rise. So cuz our role as a leader is to train someone to take our job in case something happens to us. And that's where I think we all have challenges as leaders is we have to remember that, and we also have to remember that people learn differently, right? Some
Right.
people, yeah, you might have to yell at them to get things done, but other people, if you yell at them, they will withdraw, they'll crumble, and so we have to learn, right? It's also different learning styles. I mean, some people like to learn visually, some people like to learn through reading, some people like to learn from hands-on. And that's one of the things I love about this platform, Substack, is it allows us to do things like right now we're having a video. You could strip the audio for people that want to listen by, or learn by listening, or you can write it. And that to me is one of the most powerful things about Substack that people are missing out on is you have the ability to teach and lead people in so many different ways. But I'll be quiet for a minute.
No, no, you're doing very, very good because you and I learned some things this morning about Substack that we didn't even know. So, as long as we continue to try new things, we can determine some of the older things that we have been using. Um, then we can institute these new tools that are smarter and faster, where we can get things done quicker and be able to add more value to the people that we serve, right?
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. And so all of this is trial and error and allowing ourselves to be flexible and adaptable. Okay. Because when we decide that we don't want to be open to learning new things, that's when we become stagnated, and that's when we will find ourselves really out of a job or our business closing because we have so many content creators out there that are truly amazing at their craft and what they do. And I can't tell you how many coaches is out there. Okay. And we're all working very hard and we're all working towards the same goal. So, what sets you apart? What sets me apart from everybody else? We're all basically saying the same thing. We're just saying it in our own way. So, what sets us apart is our likability. And
Mm.
one of your publications, relatability.
Mhm.
If you can be relatable to people, and that is key, especially in the land of AI. Okay?
Right. Right.
So we have to become this magnet, this force to reckon with that people attract. We attract our tribe based on that frequency. Okay? But if we don't open our mouths, how are they going to find us?
Mhm.
Right? If we don't
Mhm.
put the content out there, if we don't show our faces and just the written word is beautiful, but how many words can you read in a day?
Right. Right.
Okay? So get out from under that computer, okay? And show yourself who you are, what you got to offer. Okay?
I love it.
Then the people that vibe with you will find you.
Wow.
I know.
And Margaret, I love your passion, and I don't think that's something that AI can replicate. Right? So why would I wanna listen to it would probably almost be one of those, "That's not really Margaret, that's AI Margaret because she's not passionate, she's not automatically changing her thoughts based on something that struck her in in a positive or negative way. And I think that's what people have to realize. It's to your point is we want to connect with people on a human to human level. I love like I have a friend Brian Kramer. He's started this kind of move in his own way, the H to H thing, right? It's human to human. And that's where I think the power of being able to do this, for us to have this conversation, for people to able to join us in the comments and, ask questions or, tell us these things, um, I think is so important. And, so I do appreciate so much you allowing me to talk about something that I don't always do, right? I think we forget sometimes that uh, at least I'm told this, you're a coach, you could tell me, it's like we sometimes need to tell, in a sense, our story. And because people relate, people will then want to connect with you. I mean, going back to leadership, one of my favorite, I guess you could say, articles, things I appreciated, and it just showed how much he paid attention is Simon Sinek wrote an article, Leaders Eat Last. And he was talking about the Marines because, and I still do that to this day. If I'm in a, say some veteran luncheon or whatever, and it's time for everyone to eat, I'm not the first one in line. I wait till I make sure everybody got something to eat before I eat. And I think that is one of those things, or even, let the ladies eat first, right? It's like, those are the things that it seems simple, but it means a lot to people when they see that you're willing to, in a sense, sometimes, right? Because maybe the food runs out, but that's where you as a leader have to be strong and you have to be able to carry on because you need your people ready to accomplish the mission. And one of my favorite leaders, his name was Colonel Aaron X. Butler. We used to call him the Axe Man. Um, he used to say, I remember I was a young captain. I was a company commander at about 400 Marines that I was in charge of, and it used to be, how do you, um, know that? How do you make a decision when it comes to certain things, right? And and it really is something I still kind of carry with me. Well, not kind of. I carry with this to me to this day. In our case, is the answer you make to this question, to this decision, in the best interest of the mission and the Marine Corps? And if the answer was no to either one of those, then that was not a good decision. Because when we start making decisions based on, well, I really like this person, we start to be inconsistent because maybe somebody else comes along that we don't like and we make a different decision. We're not consistent. And so it's about doing the right thing, even when it's the right thing isn't always the easy thing. And I think so many people are more concerned about being liked than being leaders. And let me say that again. They want to be liked instead of being a leader. You're not always going to like a leader at the moment, but if you understand why they're doing it, later you will at least respect why they made that decision. And I think that for me has always been an important part of things that I've done, and I brought it into, as you said, into being a digital marketing strategist and consultant, right? It's not about chasing likes and follows. It's about creating content of value that's going to help people rise up, succeed on their own. Because, you know, just like they talk about with success, even when you talk about, say, military folks moving up, it's from them working hard and moving up. It's not a straight line. Uh, I think it's so important that these things happen. And I'm gonna tell a quick story. The current Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Carlos Ruiz, and he said this when I was he was down here in the Atlanta area back in August and was speaking, and introduced me to a couple of these gunnery sergeants that worked for him. And he worked for me when he was a lance corporal in E3 in the mid 90s in Okinawa, Japan. And I said something to him that I didn't realize at the time the impact it had on him. Because remember now, he's the top enlisted Marine in the Marine Corps. As I said, Lance Corporal Ruiz, you're a really good Marine. And have you ever thought about being an officer? I really think you could be successful. He said, I was the first person that had ever told him that he could be something. And now he's a sergeant major of the Marine Corps. So he told these gunnies that work for him, he said, this is the guy. And that really meant a lot to me. And I was like, wow. So you never know what uh, what is actually going to happen when you're interacting with people, when you're being a leader to them. So words have meaning. How you treat people has meaning. And so even, as I've gotten older, as a father and a grandfather, there's things that I regret. And so my daughter's hearing this, right? She's watching. Uh, but I also, as I've gotten older, realize like, you know what? Uh, I love my kids. I love my grandkids, and I want them to be the best, but I'm not going to tell them what they should do or criticize them anymore for the decisions they make. I'm going to provide them guidance. They've got to make that decision because they have to live with it, not you. And so I think sometimes as a leader, we have to realize how important it is that we help people. It's that was it Longfellow or whatever? Two paths diverged in the wood, and you pick whichever one. We want to help them be prepared to pick the path that is going to hopefully lead them in the right direction. But if it doesn't, we have to be willing to help get them back on the right path without criticizing or being a I told you so type of person. I think that is so important for people to think about when it comes to, leading at whatever level, whether it's leading your family, whether it's leading at work, whether it's leading in your church or, whatever organization you might be a part of.
I agree because we need to be the positive change that we want to see in the world. That starts with us, okay? By being a positive role model, okay? And talking, not just talking the talk, walking the walk, okay? And because we're rewriting our legacy every day. And so at my age, I started to think, okay, well, how do I want to be remembered? Okay. And what is that going to mean? Because people are going to have a whole bunch of negative things to say about you, regardless of how how you lived. Okay, and so we need to take all this in consideration and just live the life that we want to live, regardless of what other people's expectations of us. And I totally agree with that approach because my daughter, she was not the type of person to be able to go to school per se and get this college degree. Okay, because her mind didn't work like that. But she decided she wanted to be a truck driver.
Mm,
Okay, and I seen how important that was during COVID. Okay, how the truck drivers brought all the supplies in so that we could eat, all the commerce. It comes in through the ships. Okay, because I worked for the Corps of Engineers, so we had to keep the channels clear so those ships can come in unencumbered. Okay, so we have to think about all these little things, all these people that make our lives uh, comfortable. We don't think about the sanitary workers, all of the people that make things run on a daily basis until it's not there. Okay.
right.
So if we start taking more things in consideration, other people, then I think we'll have much better success as well. Okay. Because what we put out in the world comes back to us tenfold. And we know that. Okay.
Right. I think that's so important, and it does, right? It kind of goes back to you should treat it's kind of that whole, a golden rule in a sense, right? Treat people how you want to be treated. right? It doesn't matter what somebody does, they are a person too, and they are loved by God. And so I don't care if you're the janitor, I don't care if you're, whoever, I'm gonna still treat you with respect. I'm gonna greet you. I'm not gonna look down on you. I mean, because heck, for all we know, right? It's kind of like those undercover boss things. This person could be a, whatever, multimillionaire, who knows? And not to say that that's why you treat everybody nice, but still, it's just that whole thing of that person is going to remember the way you made them feel. And they're going to judge you that way potentially for the rest of, you know, your life because it goes back. It's right. It's that whole first impression thing. And
Absolutely.
so you should be the real you all the time, not just when and it's always been interesting when I've gone to, I'll just say, like, some of these marketing conferences that someone that maybe put out this content, which then I guess you realize that they did it until it was perfect before they put it out and they came across a certain way. In real life, it's not the same person. And that can be so disappointing. And I think that, you know, from this perspective of what we're doing right now, because this is live, this is unscripted. There was no, other than a topic, Margaret didn't give me a list of questions, right? So this is literally just coming from the heart, coming from the brain. Um, it's the whole thing of, you know, we're being real. This is if you talk to me in person, this is exactly what I'm like. I have no doubt that if you were talking to Margaret in person, this is exactly what she's like. That is what people are going to connect with. And so I think even, as a content creator, sometimes my advice would be just do it with your first take. Don't feel like you got to keep doing it over and over and over and get it perfect because that's not real.
And I want to say this: there's no such thing as perfect. Perfect based on whose opinion?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
no such thing. So
Uh,
that sets us up immediately for not to sets us up for self sabotage. Actually,
right.
okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, and I think we're all guilty of it. I mean, I was telling my wife that, the other day that I said, I feel like sometimes I don't do things because I feel like, well, I, I was in the Marines and I've been doing this stuff for about 10 years, but I'm not, I'm this old guy. Nobody's going to listen to me. But then I had a guy tell me something the other day that just kind of blew my mind because he was talking about me and some, well-known creator. And he's like, well, if I wanted somebody to learn about video, I would send them to you. And I was like, wow. And he said, because of the way you're able to teach people things in a way that is understandable. And I think that comes back from my, the time I've spent as a leader, as a parent, as a teacher, and understand, but it didn't happen overnight, right? Let's not kid ourselves, right? This is all something I had to continue and it still continue to learn, right? Learning is continuous. My personal belief is that once we stop learning, we start dying, right? I mean, Margaret, you spent 39 years in the Army Corps of Engineers and retired, and you could very easily just be, sitting around eating bonbons or whatever your favorite, food is. But no, you want to keep making an impact. And I think that that is so important for all of us to consider when we're moving to whatever that next step is, that it needs to be something that keeps us passionate and energized and moving forward. There is no, you know, I guess if you want to call it end of the race, right? It's a marathon, right? It's like,
Right.
sure, you might sprint to something, but when you finish that sprint, okay, what's the next step? What's the next stage? And so, even even where I am now in life, it's like I'm not looking to retire anytime soon. I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I may not work as much, but I don't necessarily consider what I'm doing now working because I enjoy it. And I think you probably feel the same way.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So not only am I a coach, okay, but I can also consult. We can also be advisors, okay? We can be public speakers. When you limit yourselves, you stay small, okay? We do that to ourselves. But when you look at all the different things you've learned over the course of your life, like I said, you're author, you're a content creator, you can do a public speaking, you're a teacher, you're a mentor. You think about all the things that you can do. Oh my God, it's endless, right?
Right.
And that's the way we have to look at every part of our lives.
Amen. Amen. You know, and it's funny that you say that because I read something recently and it really made me think. You see these people, right? I'll just say in our age range that are starting to learn new things. Like, you know what? Now that I have time, I'm going to learn how to play a musical instrument. I'm going to learn how to garden. I'm going to learn a new skill. And I think the unfortunate thing is we sometimes feel like, well, I can't do it because I'm old, or I can't do it because I wasn't given the opportunity. There's so much more ability to learn things today. The barriers to entry have fallen that we didn't have when we were growing. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. I would have never imagined myself, 40 years ago, let alone probably 20 years ago, that I would be sitting here live on the internet talking to you or anybody for that matter about things and having a live audience. I mean, that was like, oh, well, you had to get on TV to do that, or you had to be famous. Um, but I think too, what we're doing today is we are leaving a legacy. This recording, if you leave it out there, not only right now is my daughter watching it live, but my grandkids could watch it, right? My great grandkids could watch it and they could see what I was like, what you were like at this moment in time when we still maybe had all our, faculties. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I think people forget about with video is in a good and a bad way. It's a legacy, it's a footprint that it's like be careful what you put out there because it's not going to go away. And so I'm going to say too, even from a leadership perspective, what what you do, people are watching. So if you're
Always.
doing bad things, people are watching. So, I think you know, it's not even say, well, don't do bad things. It's like become a better person. Right. That's my perspective. Become a better person. If you did bad things in the past, right? God's going to forgive you if you're truly sorry, but become a better person. And how can you help your fellow, man, woman, whoever help them succeed? That's what to me leadership in the workplace and in life is all about.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have put it better. And the thing of it is, if I'm going tomorrow, I feel proud about the work that I did with the military. I feel proud about the work that I did here at Substack. Okay, because I came to Substack from government contracting. I knew nothing about running a publication. And here I am today. If we can do it, anybody can do it. If they you just have to uh be consistent, okay? Take baby steps, and through each iterative step that you take, your confidence will increase.
Well, and I know because you've talked about it with our good friend Tanya, as how you keep getting better at video, right? And it's that whole thing of You don't have to get better at 100%. Just try to get better 1% every day in something. 1%. And that will compound and you will become much more, whatever you want to call it, powerful, polished, confident in yourself. I mean, if you go back and watch my first live videos from back in 2018, they're nothing like my videos today. But back then I thought I was okay. I mean, I knew I had to get better, but I didn't like give up because it's like, if I go look at that stuff now, yeah, I probably cringe a little bit, but kind of like we were talking about with perfection, other people didn't notice, right? I noticed,
Right.
but other people
Right.
didn't notice.
Right.
And so don't be afraid to just do it as the old Nike commercial would say. I think that's another piece. And I think the other thing too, and I'm not saying because I was listening to a show last night on Substack, and it was interesting. Part of it is they were talking about Apple's going to start having video podcast, or they've already had them, and it was kind of that whole argument of audio versus video and what's better. Personally, obviously, I think we're video fans because you can repurpose it, and even in the case of this conversation, this could easily turn into an audio podcast because we're not really showing anything. You're not seeing my mannerisms, your mannerisms, and things like that. That video adds those extra elements. And sure, there might be people right now that are listening to us on Substack because they're around doing things, but they're still getting the message. And so I think that's part of the thing is we have to consider is what is our message? How are we sharing it? And being ready to adapt. And I mean, and that's part of the military thing. Like, I don't even necessarily like the term pivot. I like the term shift, right?
Yes.
I mean, pivot reminds me of the old Friends episode when they're trying to move the couch down the stairs, and that's pretty funny and all. But when I think it's like we're going to shift from this to that in the military, the Marine Corps, it's about adapt and overcome, right? So when COVID happened, what oh my gosh, what are we going to do? That's what a lot of people were saying. But I've been through enough challenges in my life. It's like, okay, this is what the Marine Corps taught me. Suck it up, buttercup, and just keep moving forward. You got to get through this. The light is on the other end of the tunnel. But we have to be willing to adapt. And so those that are not willing to adapt, in my opinion, right, a little
Yeah.
bit brutal, die, right?
There it
In
is.
some aspects. The world is changing. I think your daughter being a truck driver is extremely important. But because of things like AI, a lot of these people that don't want to do what your daughter is doing may have to. Because I just read an article today here on Substack and I shared with my kids. It is basically the name of the article is The End of the Office. And it's talking about how a lot of these businesses, and if you just look in what's going on out here in our world, especially in the United States, there's a lot of job cuts happening because that's the easiest way for companies to increase their bottom line is get rid of employees. But they're using AI to do some of that. And so if your job isn't quote unquote AI proof, what are you going to do? And, you know, there's still a huge need for people in the trades, but I think sometimes people have too much pride. Oh, well, I don't want to be a plumber. I don't want to be an electrician. I don't want to work in construction because I might have to get my hands dirty. Well,
You you know
you're blessed that you even live in a world where that was even an option.
you know how much money they make the skilled trades make an hour?
Six figures. I mean, they're making big money. And I just saw Ford can't find enough people to work on their cars, and electricians are having problems finding people. I mean, it's just, but you're right. They're going to make a lot of money. But no, I want to work remotely. I want to work from home. I just want to sit at my computer. Um, but I, that's where I have that question of where does the, that change happen? How are you being a leader? How are you helping your, because I think sometimes too, people go to work and they expect to be promoted and get a raise. But my question would be, because that was the question we had to do as leaders in the Marine Corps, what are you doing to bring value to the organization? It's not just about, and you did worked in the Corps of Engineers. You get promoted not based on existing, you get promoted based on accomplishment and going that extra step and showing that you're taking that extra effort to be better.
I just want to say this. That's still not a guarantee, but I would still do it anyway. Because if you don't, you're definitely not gonna get it. Okay? Especially if you look like me. You can
Right.
forget it.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Let
And
me let me
no,
let me
go ahead.
see. Let me see if somebody has some questions. Because I did see some comments.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay. Maggie says she's watching from the Substack app. Okay. Let's see.
I see one here from Lynette. She says, "Are we ever failing if we are learning from our missteps?" We definitely learn from our mistakes, and we're not perfect, and we are going to make mistakes. My philosophy has always been, and I think that's a really good question, Lynette, don't make the same mistake twice, right? You're going to make mistakes, but and in some cases, right, mistakes can be fatal. I mean, literally. So that's another reason not to make the same mistake twice. But learn from your mistakes. What can I do to prevent that from happening again? You know,
One
uh, yeah, go ahead.
one of the things too, before you make a decision, you sometimes we need to think about things before we act. Okay, because I know I can be impulsive. Okay, and then if you don't think it through, the pros and the cons, sometimes you're like, oh, I made the wrong move. I should have waited and thought things through. Don't make a decision based on emotions. Okay.
Mhm.
Take a step
Boom.
back, go for a walk or something. Okay. And come back after you thought things through. Okay.
Mhm.
Because sometimes I've ended up with egg on my face and had to go back to apologize to people like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. If I had just thought things through instead of being impulsive, okay, then I could have avoided that situation. I just wanted to say that.
Right. No, and I think that's fair, and I think, I see, uh, you know, Millie's saying that sometimes we do repeat mistakes. Yes, that's true, and Lynette's saying, "I do repeat mistakes until I learn the whole lesson," and that's sometimes what it does take is you have to see the whole lesson. The thing about and repeating mistakes, right, it's sometimes if you wanna call it, it's the level of mistake, right? Sometimes you can get away with repeating little mistakes, but it also depends on what we're talking about. In in the workplace, it can mean the difference between you having a job and not having a job. And as a leader, it can be the difference not only in life and death, but also if you're going to be continued to be given the opportunity of positions of greater responsibility. And so, how do you do it? It takes self discipline. And I think that is where, for me, the Marine Corps helped me get that self discipline as a young man. That if I will tell you, I would not be the same person I am today if I had not gone to the Marines. I would do it again. I still think for, you know, in some ways, I feel like, right, you could argue it either way that if we all served our country at some point in life. I don't necessarily mean military, but even just some sort of like service project, government service, like the
Peace
other
Corps.
countries have done, Peace Corps. That would give you a little bit more, you know, respect, thought of how you want to move forward with life. Because I think sometimes there's too much of this rush to, oh, I got to go make these big bucks. When is enough enough? I mean, even my wife and I were talking about this last night when we were out walking is, um, when is enough enough, right? Do you really need to have billions to be happy? Why aren't you taking some of those billions to help other people and give them a hand up? Not a hand out, right? A hand up because it's right. It's that whole thing of give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Or
Yes,
woman.
yes, right. I just want to say that uh, just before I quit my job, I mean, 2 years before I decided to retire, was the worst 2 years of my life, and that's the most money I made in my life was $130,000 a year.
Hmm.
But that job was killing me, and I walked away, and I was so happy. I was the happiest I've been in my whole life. To have
Right.
nothing, I had no, well, the creditors and all that, but think about it. When you have buy all these materialistic things, you have to maintain these things,
Hmm.
and there's a cost associated.
Hmm.
And so, if you lose your job, okay, how are we going to pay for all these things? So, I have learned to live with less, and I'm so much happier. Having
Yes.
less is more. You have much more abundance in your life, and you're free. You're not carrying all this excess stuff around. You're free to be who you are. If you decide you want to move to China or if you want to move to Costa Rica, you can do it in an instant. All the
Hmm.
stuff we carrying around with us is just
Right.
weighing us down mentally, physically, emotionally,
Amen. I think that's
spiritually.
that's so important, and that was not something that when I was in my 20s, I didn't necessarily think that way, and you may have been the same way, but at some point, we start to realize, like, it's almost that whole keeping up with the Joneses or reading that book. Like, for me, an eye-opening thing was reading the book, The Millionaire Next Door, right? These are people that they're not driving the latest, greatest car, they're buying a used car. They're living below their means, but they are able to do exactly what you talked about, Margaret. And I think, and I just wanted to make a quick comment too, uh, to Millie. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Leader is not always the people that have that title. It's also the people within an organization that just they lead by example. They lead by helping others, even though they weren't supposed to, and they're not meant to. I shouldn't say they're not meant to do it. They're not expected to do it. I sometimes think, even in some aspects, leadership is doing the right thing when nobody's looking, right? My wife laughs at me sometimes because we'll be driving in our neighborhood. We come up to a stop sign. Guess what I do? I stop. She's like, well, why are you stopping? I said, because it's a stop sign, right?
It's there
It-
for a reason.
It's there for a reason. I see neighbors that drive right through it, and that's fine today. But one day a cop's going to be out there and they're going to pull them over and they'll be like, well, why'd you put, it's like that, and maybe you could say in some aspects I'm a rule follower, but I also think that when we give ourselves, guidelines and it goes back into our integrity and morals and things of that nature, that's part of leadership, right? That's also, to me, that's part of what, the Lord is going to judge us one day based on our behaviors on this planet. So, uh, you know, do the right thing. It's that simple.
Absolutely. I'm gonna see other comments here. Kevin was saying he said I want to be more humorous, but these times only bring out the Scot in me, and I want to kick some fascist ass. I'll say it flat out. I hear you. We can take that energy and we could put it to use in that. I know you got a punching bag somewhere in your house, or you go to the gym and take your frustrations out there. You'll feel much better when you come home.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, there's only so much we can do. Okay, we have to go back to the Serenity Prayer. Okay, the Serenity Prayer says, "God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." Okay.
I need to hang that on my mirror in the car because when I'm driving sometimes, I need to remember that.
Yeah, when you get ready to cuss somebody out, I'll just say the serenity prayer, and I'll come back to my senses. Okay, that's why I keep it near my computer as a constant reminder. Okay, don't let nobody take you where you don't want to go.
Yep.
Okay, there it is. So, whatever you need to get through the day, okay, that's mine. Okay, and whatever else I can think of, if that stopped working, but that usually works just fine. It brings you back to the present moment, okay, and bring you back to reality. Okay,
I
so
love it.
anybody, yeah, anybody that I didn't say hello to, hello everyone. Okay, and I'm trying to see if anybody else have any comments or questions that we didn't address. Okay, but we all are whole. Okay, and don't let nobody tell you anything different. If somebody say you crazy, oh, we all a little crazy. I know
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
Okay, I'll show you crazy if you come for me. But okay, so don't let nobody tell you crazy because you're not. You got good sense, okay, and you know how to use it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today, right?
Yep. Yep.
Kevin said he said he has been ashamed to wear his retired Air Force service cap. He said, where are our generals? They have become complicit in the fascist takeover. You know where the general is? You, Kevin. You better wear your cap. I don't see why not. You earned it. Okay?
Yep.
If you want to wear your cap, you wear it. When I want to wear my stuff, I wear it. I paid for it. I paid for it with my sacrifice, my life. And don't let nobody tell you you can't. Okay? Forget that. You have nothing to be ashamed about. Okay, you served your country like all of us did. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. I wish you tell me who it was. I'd go over there with you and we'll show them some things, okay?
Yep.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah. No, no, you should definitely continue to be proud of your service because, like I tell people when they thank me for my service, I say, you are worth it. You're worth it because you're the reason I served so that our country could remain free. And so, Kevin, if anything, we as veterans have to stand up to the wrong and make sure that those that are serving, because there's still a lot of good people serving that we know or that they know that we've got their back. So
Yeah,
don't
that's
be
right.
don't feel like you can't wear your stuff. You should be proud, of what you did. I mean, my son-in-law, Maggie's husband, he's currently serving in the United States Air Force, and he's doing a tremendous job. And you know, we just got to hope that right will prevail. I believe it will. I think things are going to change, maybe not as quickly as we would like, but that's where we have to have that virtue of patience.
Yeah, but we have to stick together because as far as I'm concerned, he done lit a fire under me. I'm like, I'm ready to go down there. We can walk our way down there and I'll put my stuff on and let's go. You don't tell me what I can do. I served 39 years with the federal government. Okay? Don't get me started. Okay?
Mhm.
We'll all get together and we'll walk down there and ask them what's wrong with them. Okay?
Mhm.
Don't get me started. All
Right.
right.
Amen.
Okay. uh Millie said values. There it is. You gotta stand for something or fall for anything. That's why I wrote my
Um,
article this week about I live the Army values, okay? Period. I will not we will not be moved. Period. We will die for the right to exist based on our values. You stand for something or fall for anything, and that's not us. Period.
yep.
Don't get me started, okay?
Amen. Amen. No, you're right on. I'm with you 100%.
Absolutely. We have to stick together. That's why I called Jim. Jim, he's a veteran. Come on over here. You got a lot to say. Okay? We have a lot to say and we have a lot that we can do. Okay? If we pressed. Okay. Let's not go there. Okay. I don't work for the government no more. So I don't have to abide by the Hatch Act. Okay?
Right.
Period. They don't abide by the Hatch Act. Why do we have to abide by it?
Right.
Okay? Okay. What else do you have to say today, Jim?
I want to thank you for this great conversation. I want to thank all the folks that showed up. And sometimes people will talk about like, oh, but we got 24 people watching us live right now, and there may be people that have come and gone, but in one aspect, that just filled a classroom, right? That filled a classroom, and if you got people watching on, as an example, uh, the replay, you might fill a movie theater. You gonna complain about that? I'm not,
Complaining. I'm
right?
not complaining, okay? Because my video go everywhere. So I don't get no likes here. I don't care about the likes anymore. It's about the message. Forget
Right.
about the likes. Think about the message that we are giving to people to make them wake up and smell the coffee so we can save our country. Okay,
Yep.
this is not about us. This is about saving our country. What
Yes.
are we gonna do about that?
Yep.
So this message is going everywhere. We're everywhere. That's what we need to do. We need to put our message everywhere, internationally. Okay? That's where we at today.
Yep.
Okay?
Absolutely. But yeah. But make sure if you're not subscribed or following Margaret, make sure you do that. If you want to learn about live video on Substack, or just other stuff, feel free to come on over, subscribe, and follow me as well. Love love Margaret's passion. You can learn a lot from following and subscribing to her, and she shares some great messages.
And you do too. I would say I recommend that you subscribe to both of us. Most of them probably already subscribed, but Jim is amazing, and he knows Tanya Smith. Okay, we all know each other, and we support each other because we are all have the same goals and the same um, objective. Okay, and so we support and protect each other, and you guys are part of that too. And thank you so much for being here today. And we are our brother's keeper. You're right, Lynette.
Yes.
If we don't take care of each other, who else is going to do it?
Yep.
The federal government? They showed us how they taking care of us. We taking care of ourselves. Thank you very much. Okay? Thank you all so much. And love each and every one of you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you,
And
Margaret.
thank you all. All right. Bye-bye.